We are back on Get Up, and let's talk about the Chicago Bears, whose defense got steamrolled in a Sunday night loss to the Packers, while Mitch Trubisky and the offense were equally bad. Yesterday, head coach Matt Nagy was not taking all of this lying down. Listen to this.
Whatever it is, I know this. We better wake our tails up. Every freaking coach on the staff, every player better wake up and start understanding where we're at. Have some personal pride. Have a freaking sense of urgency. Yesterday was flat out embarrassing, and our guys know it. I'm not telling you something they don't know. They know it.
All right, so usually Swagoo was with us on Tuesdays. He will interpret what people say. But, Jeff, you're going to play the role of Swagoo today. As you heard Matt Nagy talking there, what do you think he was really saying?
If I get fired, all you clowns getting fired too, Greeny. That's exactly what he's saying. Let me tell you, that is truth. You better believe that. You understand when that head coach goes, there's going to be a whole other crew comes in. They're going to be looking for their players, their type of players, their guys, all those things. That adage is as real as it gets, and Matt Nagy was putting everybody on notice, baby. When and if I go down, all y'all going with me. I ain't going solo.
You know, so, Greg, I will admit that as I listened to it, I thought to myself, maybe the time for that speech that you sort of pulled out of the coach's speech handbook was before you got humiliated on national television against your arch rival. At some point before you've lost 5 consecutive games. It rang a little cold with me. What'd you think of it?
True.
I think he's desperate. I mean, what else do you want him to say? I mean, he has right now a roster, especially on the offensive side, that is the worst in the NFL. We have a situation in which you have a quarterback conundrum, and I call it that because there's no other appropriate term, because neither guy's the answer. You have an offensive line that can't block anything. They literally can't block out the sun on the beach. And then you have running game right now. Like Montgomery, I kind of like him, but he's kind of a workhorse, and he's getting 11 carries. Then you have a receiving core where your best receiver would be the 4th best receiver on the Dallas Cowboys. And then, hey, just in case you want to mix it all up, let's throw Cordero Patterson in at running back. They'll never know what's going to come when we do that. So they have all types of issues, and it's not about the coaching as much as it is about the personnel. Their personnel is just downright bad. And there's only so much you can do at the head coaching spot or at both coordinators when you have personnel that's just this far below what's necessary to be successful in the league.
All right, I'm in on all of that. So, Graziano, let me turn to you. So everyone talks about this being it for Trubisky. People are now starting to talk about it being it for Matt Nagy. The person who put all of this together that Greg, I think, is correctly pointing to is the general manager, Ryan Pace. What do we expect from the offseason in Chicago? Dan?
Yeah, it's still early to say, but I think it's fair to say both of those seats are hot, right? Nagy as head coach and Ryan Pace as the GM. The Trubisky pick obviously falls on Ryan Pace. I mean, this was a draft that had Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes in it, and he traded up a pick to take Trubisky ahead of both of those guys. He's got to wear that. Will he get a chance to fix it and pick the new quarterback? That's for Bears ownership to decide. But you can hear in Matt Nagy's voice. I'm from South Jersey. I know the accent, the Philly accent, right? I'm listening to Matt Nagy, and I'm thinking, this could be a radio caller in Philadelphia complaining about the Eagles. Like, it just sounds like he has no idea what to make of the whole thing. That's a really bad situation for a head coach to be in at this point in the season.
Yeah, what he actually was a caller on Waddle and Sylvie on ESPN 1000 in Chicago, calling and saying exactly that. Greg McElroy, we'll just play that one back, and that'll go very well on the radio today. All right, guys, stick tight. We have much more NFL as we go, but to the college level, because there's been a lot of news around the Big Ten Conference. Let's start in Indiana, where head coach Tom Allen confirmed the bad news. Starting quarterback Michael Penix Jr. tore his ACL Saturday. He will miss the rest of the year. It's been such a good season for them. Elsewhere, Northwestern Minnesota, set for this Saturday, will not be played. It's been canceled because of COVID issues within the Minnesota program. And then, after having their game with Illinois scheduled for this past weekend canceled because of COVID, Ohio State is now at risk of missing their next game against Michigan. All right, back as we continue on Get Up. And if you're just joining us, another tough night for Carson Wentz and the Eagles last night, taking on Seattle on Monday Night Football. This is in the first quarter with no score, and it's a third down, and that's an incompletion to Jalen Reagor, and Wentz was 0 for 4 on the first 2 drives, and then he was on the sidelines in the second quarter. Jalen Hurts is in, and His first snap is a completion to Alshon Jeffrey, and then just like that, he's going back off the field, so no one knows what's going on. And then the next play, Wentz is sacked for a loss of 6 yards. He was sacked 6 times on the night. The fourth quarter, the Eagles are down 20-9. They're knocking on the door, but Wentz incomplete in the end zone for Rager, and then Doug Peterson would go for it on a 4th down. Again, this is still with 9 minutes to go in a 2-score game, and Wentz throws an interception. It's not clear who he thinks he's throwing that to. So another disappointing night and a bad loss for the Eagles. And when there is trouble in Philly, this is the man to whom we turn. Sal Paolantonio was with us live. And Sal, as we watch this, I mean, there's so much conversation. What do you believe the Eagles need to do about their Carson Wentz problem right now?
Well, they got to protect him first and foremost. From that first series, they couldn't protect Carson Wentz. Jamal Adams terrorized him the entire game. Everybody knows, if you watch our show, the matchup show, everybody knows that the Seahawks have been bringing the blitz more and more this season, and they couldn't block them. The Eagles had their 10th different offensive line combination, most in the National Football League, and they couldn't protect Carson Wentz. And Greeny, Michael, if you're not going to protect Carson Wentz, the quarterback, at least protect Carson Wentz, the asset, right? He's worth $59 million against the cap next year, in a year when the cap is going to shrink. You know he's going to be your quarterback next year. You know he's going to be on the roster. You got to protect him as an asset now. You've got to protect your future. And that, to me, means you got to put Jalen Hurts on the football field.
Put him on the football field. We were wondering, the way they used him last night, exactly what the purpose of that was. He comes in, he makes one throw, he goes out. What are you suggesting they do with Jalen Hurts?
Right, we heard it from Steve Levy in the booth. Somebody explain this to me, right? He kept saying, somebody explain this to me, how they're using Jalen Hurts. Well, they didn't use him. They misused him. And, you know, the bottom line is this. If you're not going to protect Carson Wentz, the quarterback, protect him as the asset. We know Jalen Hurts is more mobile. We know the offense will look a lot different with Jalen Hurts behind center. Give Carson Wentz a break from being terrorized. Let him hit the reset button. I'm not suggesting bench him for the long term. I'm just saying right now, you can't protect him, and you got to protect him in the future.
So you're saying basically give him a week or two off to sit and watch. It's an interesting suggestion. In any other season, I might agree, but they are still, as awful as it has all been, they're still very much in the chase in this ridiculous division they play in. Where does that come into all of this?
Well, I don't know about that, Michael, because when you look at this division right now, it's going to take 6 wins to get the division title. Now, if you look at the rest of the division, the Giants have the easiest road, but because Daniel Jones is hurt and iffy, you don't know if the Giants can get there. The Washington football team has the hardest road, but they're playing the best football, especially at the quarterback position with Alex Smith, and the way Scott Turner is using Alex Smith with 3 running backs, and their defensive line is dominating the line of scrimmage. So Washington is playing the best football, but they have the toughest road. But you look at the Eagles right now. They're at Green Bay. No picnic. Then they come home and play New Orleans and Taysom Hill, and Sean Payton has had the Eagles number for years. Then they have to go to Arizona. Which one of those 3 games do you see them winning? Then they have to go to Dallas, and then they finish up against Washington, where Washington could be in a position to ice the division. So I don't think the Eagles have an easy road at all to get to the division title. And I think it's very, very important for him to send, Doug Peterson, to send the message that we're going to do everything we possibly can, including using Jalen Hurts in a meaningful way to get this team moving forward, to get the team energized and inspired on offense.
Let me ask you quickly, because Wentz isn't going anywhere based on the contract. Is the seat that Peterson is sitting on secure, regardless of what happens the rest of the season?
That's a difficult question to answer. And when you use the word secure, the answer obviously has to be no, right?